Hi, I'm Shayna Clements, and today I'm going to talk about the differentiated model of giftedness and talent and how it is used in relation to diverse populations, but specifically cultural, economical, and gender diversity. For an earlier assignment, I created this concept map of Gagne's DMGT, and I thought it was a great way to do a quick review. As a reminder, Gagne says that gifted learners are born with a superior natural ability in one or more domain that would put them in the top 10%. The learner must then go through the developmental process, which is heavily influenced by chance, the environmental catalyst, and the interpersonal catalyst. If they do that successfully, they can develop their gift into a talent. Gagne would say that a person is talented when they are within the top 10% of their chosen skill or occupation. First, let's take a look at cultural diversity. When we talk about cultural diversity, there are several factors that we could discuss, and I narrowed it down to a few. The first one is cultural definitions of giftedness and values and priorities. The challenge that we see is that standardized tests may not capture culturally diverse expressions of intelligence and creativity. If we are using only a standardized test as an indicator of giftedness, we will miss out on all of the other domains, such as creativity, sensory motor. Different cultures have different expectations and they value different things. So, one culture might say that intellectual ability is more important, and another culture might value creativity. Next is language and communication. The challenge is that language barriers can impact how giftedness is recognized and assessed. I have seen this in my work as a special education teacher. Sometimes a student is suggested. We find out it's not a special education issue, but rather it's a language issue. And I can see how the same could be true for gifted students. We have to assess these students using a variety of assessments, including assessments in their own native language. Lastly is stereotypes and bias. The challenge is that teacher nominations could be influenced by stereotypes or a lack of understanding different cultures' backgrounds. We need to make sure that we're doing professional development and trainings on cultural awareness. The National Association of Gifted Children says to capture a holistic profile of all students, multiple criteria should be the norm. Qualitative and quantitative information gathered from families, teachers, and students should be a part of the evaluation process. So, does Gagne's DMGT address these? Gagne says that there needs to be multiple assessment methods for identifying gifted learners. We cannot rely solely on standardized assessments or IQ tests alone because there are so many different domains that a person could have a gift in. He also suggests using different assessments, such as portfolios and performance-based assessments, creativity assessments, in place of only formal language assessments. And his model addresses teacher bias by suggesting that all teachers have professional development regarding culture, among other things. This would help lower those teacher biases. Overall, I do think that he supports cultural diversity. It is not a one size fits all solution or an approach to culture, but instead it offers many different ways that educators could fill in the gaps using best practices like using culturally responsive assessments, providing competency training, and incorporating cultural strengths in their enrichment activities. So, yes, he does address those. The second area of diversity I'd like to dive into is economic diversity. Again, there's several factors. I narrowed it down to a few. When we look at the DMGT, we see that the different catalysts heavily influence the developmental process. Some of our biggest factors are access to resources and community of support, the quality of schools, the extracurricular activities, and the books and technology available to students of lower social class aren't always, in fact, rarely are the same quality as students who come from higher social standings. Family involvement, time and support, and the caregiver education level makes a huge difference in especially higher students. The time and support that their parents can give them does make a difference. If they are, say, from a lower social class, their parents might have more than one job. They may not be around a lot in the evenings or on the weekends to help their students. And studies have shown that the caregiver education level does make a difference. Those psychological and social factors, such as stability and mental health, if a child is going home not knowing when their next meal is going to be, wondering if they're going to have water and lights, that can affect all of those things as well as mental health. So how does the DMGT address these challenges? Gagne acknowledges that his students coming from lower social classes may not have access to those same resources. His approach suggests things like scholarships and grant funding to help fund or pay for some of the activities. He also proposes parent and community collaboration with the schools to offer assistance and additional training. The school that I'm at, we have a parent involvement night multiple times a year where we try to get parents to come in and help. We can help them with learning the stuff about our math curriculum or our reading curriculum. The same could be true for gifted students. And while I didn't find specific information regarding the DMGT and psychological and social factors, I found over and over again that Gagne addresses each learner as a whole, and he continually says we must look at them as individuals and find ways to help each of them individually. I do feel like the DMGT covers economic diversity. So, how about gender diversity? Gagne says that giftedness occurs in either gender, part of that chance factor, and he suggests using best practices that are sensitive to gender differences, such as gender expectations and gender experiences, to minimize those gender biases. Yes, he addresses this. So, in conclusion, the DMGT emphasizes that giftedness and talent can manifest in various ways across different cultural, linguistic, and socioeconomic backgrounds. Francois Gagne acknowledges that every gifted learner will have their own set of challenges that must be faced and leaves his approach open to allow educators to help each student using best practices. And the differentiated model of giftedness and talent does support diverse learners and is widely supported in gifted education. And here's my resources for my photos and information. Thank you.